You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From Los Angeles, California, and Maria Menounos, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV Showrunners. AfterBuzz TV Showrunners is a long-form interview series featuring television showrunners and creators. And now, from the world's #1 TV after-show platform, this is AfterBuzz TV Showrunners.
Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of AfterBuzz TV Showrunners. I'm your host, Erika Garcia Rojas, and this week we have a wonderful special guest with us. It's Jennifer Graziano, the executive producer of Mob Wives. Say hi. And she's here to dish about our favorite housewives show on VH1, Mob Wives. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, no problem.
We are so excited to talk all about your career and your experiences with the women on Mob Wives. So just to get started, I know that you didn't necessarily have a background in production. So how did it go from doing what you're doing to having a fantastic show on VH1 with Mob Wives? How did that happen?
I started my entertainment career in music, actually, but just growing up, I was always writing scripts and stories, and I always had a passion for television and film. So, I started writing a scripted show about myself growing up, and what happened was the Real Housewives franchise and reality TV as a whole was really blowing up and becoming kind of this phenomenon that everyone wanted to have a piece of, whether from a vieweristic standpoint or from the producing standpoint. Mm-hmm. And I realized that was probably an easier way for me to get into television. And I, kind of take a look at my script, and I said, you know what, I can make this real. I have the cast under my nose my entire life, and, let me make this a reality show.
So you were writing a script growing up. Did you always want it to be in television or film?
Yes.
Okay, so It was a goal from the beginning.
Yes and no. I mean, I started school as pre-med, and I wanted to be a doctor first, but like
Smarty.
I said, always writing and writing scripts and stories, knowing that was kind of almost my passion and a hobby that really kind of came to fruition later on in life. So
Mob Wives is with the Weinstein Company. So how did you go from being, in music to having a deal with the Weinstein? I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, what had happened was I created the sizzle reel for Mob Wives, and I was shopping it around. And my former boss from Sony Music was at the Weinstein Company in a film deal. So he had said, bring it over here. Let's see if they're interested. And, they were out to dinner one night. It was actually him and David Glasser, who's Harvey's number 2, the COO of the company, and they called me. They're like, come meet us, let's talk. I said, I have the girls with me. They said, bring them, and we sat down, and within 20 minutes, they were like, we want this show. This is amazing. You guys have to meet Harvey tomorrow. Let's do this. And then I brought the girls in to meet Harvey. Again, same thing. He was like, oh, this is great. I showed him a couple of my other shows, including the scripted show that I was talking about, and, he said, let's give you an overall deal.
Wow, and so when you say the girls, who did you go into that meeting with?
The dinner was actually Renee, Drita, and Karen. Carla wasn't there, and that was enough to kind of sell David Glasser on it. And then we went in the next day to Harvey with all 4 women, the original cast. Okay,
so you had these women in your life, and you wanted to put together this show and bring them. How did you pick the women? Obviously, Renee's your sister. But how did you pick the other women?
I mean, to be honest, Drita and I were working together for years and years, trying to figure out something for her in entertainment. I think she's got a gift. She's very talented. She is a star. First, we tried modeling. Then we tried making her a white rapper, because I was at Sony at the time. Then it was just like, I said to her when I first met her, I'm going to put you on TV someday. Or somehow, some way, I'm going to get you on TV. I never thought that it would be me creating the show or producing it, but I just knew somehow, some way I would get her there. So she was a natural choice for me. Karen is one of my best friends growing up since I'm 13 years old. She brings the huge name and the history and a lot of controversy to the show. So she was a natural choice to me. Renee, I played a little game with Renee. I was telling her that, I already have the cast. I don't think we need you. And that was kind of really my payback for all the years of torture that she gave me.
That's such a sister. I have 2 sisters too, and that's such a sister thing to do. Keep them on their toes.
Exactly. And she was like, well, can I work the wardrobe or can I be involved somehow? And I'm like, yeah, we'll talk. But obviously she was the first pick in my mind. She also was born for television. She's been dancing and singing on tables since she's 2 years old.
So speaking of your sister, you know, being an executive producer, that's your job, but at the same time, you have to balance that with having your sister as a star on the television, as star of the show. How do you balance that, where you're fair to the show, but you're also a sister to Renee?
When we're working, she's not my sister. I have to, yeah. I told her from day one, you know, you're going into this is a decision you need to make. This is what it's going to be like. I'm not going to give you special treatment. You're going to be treated the same way everyone else is. There's going to be times you love it. There's going to be times you hate it. And, you know, she said that's fine. I get it. I agree with it. So when we're working, I have to kind of turn that sister off. And you know, it's very hard. I'm not saying that's an easy job to do. There are things that go on that I would love to be the sister at the moment, but I can't. I made a decision. This is my career, and this is how I have to look at it. So
when you watch the things that happened to her with Junior, her rehab, how do you watch that and still stay objective to the show?
Well, you also got to realize they're not only happening to her, they're happening to me also. So the Junior thing, he was a part of my life for God knows how long. Yeah. So that was definitely hard. As far as the rehab, you know, there are times when I want to turn the cameras off, and she's just like, no, let it go. You know, specifically in Vegas, I wanted to send her home. She refused to go home. I want to do this. I'm here. I'm staying. You know, and she just refused. And, you know, at the end of the day, VH1's going to say, leave him on, you know. It's not always my final decision also. That's what people don't understand as well.
And it seems like the relationship works in a sense because if Renee's open about being in the public and experiencing those things in the public.
She's been that way her whole life. Listen, we used to go to the hair salon and we'd be there 2 minutes and the hairdresser would know her entire story. Yeah. And I'm like, just shut the fuck up. You know, and all she does is, you know, she tells. She you know, she has a way about her that she wants to invite people into her life, and I'm very different. I'm completely the opposite. I'm very private. So everything she's telling, I'm like, take notes, never to say that.
Yeah.
You know, but it works for her.
So one of the things that I love about Mob Wives is the fact that the drama in the show really seems legitimate. You've got women that have these decades-long history, and they're real issues. They're not as superficial as some of the other shows out there. Having said that, though, how much pressure is there on you to ensure that is there pressure on you to make sure that there's drama in each episode?
Honestly, sometimes I wish we can dial it back a bit. It's so natural inherent drama. We don't have to stir anything up. The girls have issues, and part of it, what I think that makes the show work and makes it so dramaful is the decade-long relationships. They know so much of each other. They know how to push each other's buttons. They know when they're, you know, when someone's mad, and they kind of take advantage of that sometimes. But we don't really have to push that along at all. You know, it's sometimes I'm like, oh God, again, can we get along today? You know, but. It seems to work for the audience, so I'm happy.
There's some crazy drama. I mean, in the past few years, I mean, we've seen some fights. We've seen some crazy stuff go down. Are you ever, well, in 2 ways, are you ever afraid that something really bad's going to happen? And secondly, you know, we're dealing with the mob. Are you ever afraid that there might be a backlash from that? A very private community of people.
Right. Just on that question first, I'm not very afraid of that because we don't touch on subjects that belong to the men. We're really talking about the women and what's going on within their lives. And they all happen to be from this private lifestyle, and that's what makes them connect. But they're not talking about any secrets. They don't know any secrets. We don't know any secrets. It just so happens they're from the similar lifestyle, and it's really showing how that lifestyle affects them on a day-to-day basis.
Have you gotten any backlash from the community?
I mean, yeah, they're not happy. I'm not going to, you know, deny that or lie about that. There are a lot of people that are happy were unhappy when it first came out. But I think as the show went on, they realized what I just said. They're not talking about anybody's business. They're talking about themselves. Anything they've ever mentioned about a case was already reported in the news, or, for instance, my father going to jail or Renee's ex-husband going to jail. That was already public knowledge. So we're not talking about anything that people don't already know. So once they started to see that, people really, really started to calm down. And we get a lot of, we love the show, but don't tell anybody.
Yeah,
So.
it's a guilty pleasure. And so let's talk a little bit about some of the mob wives, the former mob wives, because there's a lot of chatter, a lot that went on when, especially this last season, some of our mob wives we've seen from the beginning, Carla, Karen, I mean, they were gone. And there's things said about money, about the production having their hands in everything. What's your response to some of that?
First and foremost, this is a business, and in every business decisions have to be made. Sometimes they're tough, sometimes they're not. They were looking for more money, as they can and rightfully should, and the powers that be, which, like I said, not everyone realizes. I don't have final decisions on all of this. There are a number of people that make decisions. I have partners. We have the network. So the collective powers that be didn't want to, there wasn't any room for negotiation, really. And then they didn't show up for work. They breached their contract, and everything happened from there.
Isn't that tough, though? With, like you said, Karen was a good friend of yours from a long time ago?
It was extremely tough. I spoke to her all the time. You need to come to work. You should come to work. I told them all,
So Karen didn't come because of payment? Is that why?
Well, I don't know the exact reason why anyone didn't show up. All I know is that they didn't.
So what happened is that they were set to come in for this new season, and they just didn't show up.
Yeah, I really don't want to get into the particulars of everything, but just from an overall perspective, they were supposed to come to work and they didn't.
And do you still talk to Karen? Are you still friends with her?
I speak to Karen all the time. I don't speak to Ramona any longer, and I don't speak to Carla.
And what about Love?
Love and I, we've exchanged some text messages here and there. There's no hard feelings. We just don't see each other. I'm very busy, so is she. So.
And were you friends with Carla and Ramona before this whole thing?
Carla was actually Renee's friend growing up, and I knew her from that, but she was never really a close friend of mine. Ramona, again, was one of my friends since 13 years old. We had a little clique back then, and it was me, Karen, Ramona, and Roxanne, who is Ramona's sister, and we grew up together for years and years and years. So that was kind of unfortunate, and there are some things that transpired that neither one of us were happy with, so we just kind of parted ways.
Well, it does seem like for you as a businesswoman, you do put business first.
100%, you have to, and like I said, this is a business, and the same thing I said to you about Renee. When you come into this, you're going to be treated like everybody else. You're not my sister. You are part of a business plan. And, it sounds cold, but that's the only way when working with friends and family, you can really make it work. You have to learn to compartmentalize.
Do you feel that you've ever sacrificed anything along the way?
In terms of what?
In terms of putting your family out there in the public eye and your friends out there.
Well, yeah, that. I mean, there has been, some things I wish didn't make the cut, so to speak. But I mean, overall, I think everything turns out fine. I think everybody's okay, and we'll keep moving from here.
So we just finished 4th season of Mob Wives. Congratulations! I mean,
Thank
4
you.
seasons. That's huge for
Thank
one
you.
show. And were there any kind of crazy surprises that you weren't expecting from the show?
In this season in particular?
Yes.
Yeah, there were a few. The Vegas trip was a little rough. We didn't expect for any type of negative behavior to come out of that. Renee and Natalie fighting was very shocking to me. That's not really Renee's nature. She has she doesn't like to hear this, but it's not that, she has a huge bark, and she will act on it if pushed, but that's not her nature whatsoever. She doesn't want to fight with anyone. She doesn't want to hurt anyone, but she did, and she's regretful. So that, to me, was a shocker. We're still dealing with Alicias Sentencing. Hasn't happened yet. We thought it would be done by the time the season ended, but that didn't happen. I mean, I honestly think not many things can shock me anymore in this show, but so it's little things here and there.
And you brought up the point about Alicias Sentencing. How was it filming Mob Wives with this whole kind of court case with Alicia going on, especially it being so unpredictable? And I know the way the season ended, it ended almost like with the to be continued ...
Right. Well, one, the case was closed already. She had already pled guilty, and we were waiting, was waiting on her sentencing, and we were following that part of it. So we have no control over that. We don't know if the court's going to postpone, if they're going to sentence, if they're going to give her a new date. So we were really rolling with the punches as she did. So it wasn't planned to leave it open-ended. If she would have been sentenced, we would have covered that. If she didn't, we'd leave it open-ended, and we'll see what happens for season 5.
And then, so, I mean, I could assume why you chose Alicia. There's a lot of going on in her life to be a part of the show. But where did you find Natalie in a way? Because I know when you read things that are out there, a lot of people are like, why her? Her ties don't seem as strong. Where does she come from?
Natalie was introduced to me through a friend. What we do in Mob Wives, it's really about being married to a lifestyle, not necessarily to a particular person. So she's in that lifestyle in the sense that her family business is right smack in the middle of it. It's a big deal in Philadelphia. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but a lot of people don't realize that pretty much every big city where the mob is kind of popular, there's always that one funeral home that everybody goes to. And, so that's really where she fits into things. There's other relationships there that may or may not exist that she chooses to talk about or not talk about. And, she's definitely a little fiery vixen, and, I think every show needs one of them.
Were you friends with her?
No, I didn't know. I was introduced to her. I was actually casting for Mob Wives Philly.
Okay.
And Alicia and Natalie were two of my choices for Mob Wives Philly. But when the shake-up with the New York cast happened, we were, we were a few cast members short, and VH1 was just like, okay, well, Philly's close. What do you think? And I had thought about that previously, and I was like, yeah, I guess so. Philly and New York, the guys hang out together, so what makes it so different for the girls? And Renee and Alicia had an authentic relationship through Edward, so it made sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. And then, are you still working on any of those? I know there was a spinoff before, the Chicago spinoff. Are you working on any other spinoffs for Mob Wives, particularly right now?
Well, in terms of branching off to other cities, we're putting that on hold. We really want to, now that we have a new cast, we're really focusing on building that cast up, and we call it the mothership, building the mothership up and kind of really bringing that cast to the next level, and then we'll see where we go from there. Spinoff-wise, I've got ideas in development for Renee. We're in talks about spinoff for Drita. There are a few ideas that are floating around, but nothing's been written in stone yet.
So you've got a lot. It feels like you've got a lot going on with you.
Yes, definitely.
And so, what you're saying, in addition to the Mob Wives right now, there's a few other spinoffs, but is there anything else that you're focusing on? I read that you're also doing like a scripted show.
Yes, I've got a bunch of shows in different levels of development. I've got a scripted show that I'm working on, a few of them actually. I have a film that I'm working on, other reality shows. So, nothing
specific
to talk about yet. I can't really say until until it's ready to be announced, but. I'll let you know as soon as I can.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. And so for Mob Wives season 4, we're done, and there was notice that it's got picked up for a 5th season, right? So when does that start filming?
We'll probably start around June, and then to air either December or January again.
Okay. And so who's going to be a part of the cast?
As of now, everyone will have to tune in to find out.
There's rumors out there that Karen's coming back. That's on the internet.
That's been a rumor for a while. I mean, I would love it. Like I said, to me, she's one of the founding members of the cast.
Yeah.
She brought a great history to it. She's a friend of mine. So at the end of the day, that's going to be determined, by myself and Karen and everybody else in the powers that be. But nothing. It's not a definite thing.
They're not definite. And also out there in the internet is that Natalie's not coming back too.
I haven't heard that, but.
No.
Like I said, everyone's got to tune in to find out.
No hints, or millions of fans that are listening can't wait to get their teeth synced into a new Mob Wives.
We like to surprise everybody, and I think we will have some good surprises for season 5.
And would you ever consider, or are you considering bringing in a new blood?
A new cast member?
Yes.
Yeah, we like to do that every season to kind of mix it up a little bit. So I've got some people I'm talking to, and you know, it's a difficult show to cast in the sense that you can't put out, you know, a casting call, hey, every mob wife out there, show up on Tuesday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because, you know, not that many women are actually willing to do it and or can do it. So it's a very small pool that we choose from. But every year I kind of look to add somebody new and spicing up the pot a little bit.
You think at this point, though, with the popularity of mob wives, you would think that most people would be pretty open to doing it.
Oh yeah, they're getting there. I mean, like I said before, when I said, oh, we have people that say we love the show but don't tell anyone. We have people that call and say, hey, put my wife on but don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
You know, but it happens, and it's just a matter of, you know, it's a matter of their personality, it's a matter of their story, and you know, whether or not they're able to do it. So there's a few factors that go into it.
So one of the kind of purposes of this show, Showrunners, is we have a lot of aspiring producers, writers who listen, and you have incredible experience now after these, you know, multiple shows that you've worked on. What is your advice for the best way to get, say, an idea or pilot noticed by a large network?
It's very difficult. I mean, to get the attention from the networks, my advice is to go to an established production company and work with them first, create a partnership, and then go to the network together. Because at the end of the day, the network is going to want you to partner with a production company anyway. Because being a first-time producer, you're not going to be able to do, and this happened with myself as well. You're not going to be able to create the show without that experienced production partner. So I would start there, do a little research on shows that you liked and which producing partners they used, and see if you can get their attention first.
It helps to know people, right?
Yes, that too.
Sounds like for you, that's kind of what helped you get.
Yes, relationships are everything. I always say that, you know, make them and keep them. Never burn bridges.
And going back to kind of the whole picture as a whole, right? You've 4 seasons of Mob Wives. How has the show, in a way, kind of veered in directions you never thought, or maybe changed along the way?
I never thought that we would be without the 2, Carla and Karen, 2 of the original cast members, and another one that came on early on in season 2. I didn't foresee that coming.
Was it hard not to take that kind of personally, the whole thing with Karen, because you were friends with her, Karen and Carla?
I would never take it personally. At the end of the day, everyone tries to negotiate. You know, I'm sure Michael Jordan tried to negotiate his contract every year. You know, that it happens. That's not really what was personal. Nothing really was personal to me as it pertained to the business of things. So, which is why Karen and I still have a great relationship. We still talk every day. And it took her a minute to kind of realize, hey, you know, this really wasn't all, you know, Jennifer, I got to realize the business of things and take a look at what really happened, you know.
But back to the question of how things have changed over.
That was one of our biggest changes, obviously. Also, I think this season became a little bit more heartfelt in the sense of, you know, real authentic stories of what's going on. You know, taking Alicia's story, you know, she actually had a story because of her husband and this lifestyle. Same thing that Renee had season 2. These type of stories are what I love to tell. It's like, okay, this is how this lifestyle could affect the woman. And again, without giving anything or talking about anything too deeply, but her case was public, and we just touched on the parts that were, and we were able to tell, you know, a cautionary tale almost. Don't get involved with someone, you know, that could hurt you, or, you know, and I don't want to sound like he did it on purpose, because I'm sure he didn't, but.
And it sounds like that's kind of the whole point of Mob Wives in general, talking about these women and the lives of these women.
And how a certain lifestyle affects them.
And how the lifestyle affects them.
It could have been no different than fireman wives. You know, how does it feel when your husband has to get up in the middle of the night and risk his life putting out a fire? All of them have the same type of dynamic in their lives, and that's what makes them understand each other, and that's what also makes them fight with each other, because they can't talk about this type of stuff to outsiders, so they only can keep it within the group, and, you know, it kind of implodes every now and then.
It's kind of crazy. And just to wrap things up, thank you, you know, for being here. And is there any, in addition to what you said, any other pieces of advice that you would give out there?
Never give up. You know, there's something, everybody wants to see something, and you just got to really find that one piece of information that hasn't been exploited yet, that one topic that hasn't been shown, and figure out what you can do to make it interesting. And then on the flip side, there's topics that have been done over and over again. So if you find something you're interested in, figure out how you can flip it on its head and make it brand new.
It's true. You did that with Mob Wives. There's a lot of housewife shows out there.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was my inspiration. And that's what, you know, started me to kind of formulate the idea. I took a piece of the Housewives franchise and flipped it on its head.
You did that, that's for sure. All right, well, thank you so much for speaking to us here at AfterBuzz and all the wonderful information you gave us all. And where can people find you if they want to follow you and your social media?
On Instagram and Twitter, it's Jenn Graziano, Jenn.
All right, well, thank you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm your host, Erika Garcia Rojas. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at IamEGR. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.